If I told you that 10 years from now, the person you'll become is silently watching the choices you make today, would you still waste time the same way? Would you still talk yourself out of discipline, out of dreams, out of greatness, knowing that your future self is sitting in the audience of your life, watching how this story unfolds? Imagine this. Somewhere in the future, there's a version of you, sharper, wiser, calmer, watching your every move today. They're watching how you wake up in the morning, how you handle frustration, how you talk to people, how you use your time. They're watching when you procrastinate, when you break another promise, when you scroll instead of study, when you shrink instead of stretch. And the haunting question is this: are they proud or are they disappointed? We talk so much about goals, success, and the life we want to build, but we forget something powerful, that the future isn't some random place we stumble into. It's being built right now by the bricks of your habits, your discipline, your thoughts, and your decisions. The future you, that stronger, wealthier, more confident version, doesn't arrive by magic. They are born through the small, unseen choices you make when no one else is watching. Accept them. So I want to challenge you today, live like your future self is already watching. Because they are. And how you live this day will decide whether they're clapping for you or shaking their head in regret. The future doesn't shout. It whispers through the quiet rhythm of what you do every single day. It's easy to believe that the grand moments of success are what define your destiny, but the truth is far simpler and far more demanding. Your future is built in the ordinary moments. The moments when you choose discipline over distraction, focus over comfort, growth over ease. It's built when nobody's watching, when there are no rewards yet, when the applause hasn't come. Those are the days that shape who you become. Your future self isn't impressed by your dreams or your intentions. They're shaped by your patterns, by the consistency of your choices, by how you handle the small, unglamorous parts of life. That's where real transformation happens, not in one big leap, but in thousands of small steps taken with discipline. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But that bridge isn't built in a day. It's built at one brick at a time, one habit at a time, one decision at a time. Every time you do something you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it, you're laying a brick on that bridge. And every time you skip what you promised yourself you'd do, every time you let feelings rule your commitment, you remove a brick. You might not notice it now, but your future self does. They see it all. They know when you're serious and when you're pretending. They know when you're putting in real work or just talking about it. You can't fool your future self because the results of your discipline, or your lack of it, are impossible to hide. You see, discipline isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being loyal to your potential. It's about respecting the person you could become. It's saying, I owe my future self the best of my effort today. When you think that way, you start to carry yourself differently. You stop making decisions based on moods and start making them based on purpose, because moods change, but purpose endures. Feelings are temporary, your legacy is permanent. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. Consistency is the currency of progress. Every day you show up, every time you follow through, you deposit something valuable into the bank of your future. There are two kinds of pain in life: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, the pain of regret weighs tons. Discipline hurts now, regret hurts later. Discipline demands effort today, regret demands sorrow tomorrow. And if you could stand face to face with your future self, they'd tell you, choose the lighter pain. Choose the effort that shapes you, not the ease that weakens you. Because the moment you stop choosing discipline, you start choosing decline. There is no neutral. You're either getting stronger or weaker, building or breaking, advancing or retreating. Discipline keeps you moving in the right direction even when the road gets lonely. The people who achieve great things aren't necessarily more talented. They're just more consistent. They've learned how to do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. They've learned that emotions are visitors, but habits are foundations. Discipline is what turns potential into performance. Without it, you can have all the ideas, all the goals, all the vision, and still end up nowhere. With it, you can start small and still end up extraordinary. The difference is never in the resources, it's always in the resolve. How you handle the dull days, the hard mornings, the uninspired afternoons, that's what determines your future. Not the big moments of motivation, but the quiet moments of persistence. Think about how many times you've said, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow has become the hiding place for so many lost dreams. Tomorrow is where the undisciplined put their potential to sleep. But tomorrow never comes. It's just today wearing a different name. Your future self isn't waiting for tomorrow. They're begging you to act today. Because one day, you'll run out of tomorrows, and all you'll have left are the results of the habits you built or neglected. Every time you delay, you're making life harder for your future self. Every time you commit, you're making it easier. Every day is a trade. You're either trading your comfort for growth or your growth for comfort. The choice seems small now, but it echoes across years. Discipline is also about self-conversation. It's about how you talk to yourself when things get difficult. Most people let their mind talk them out of effort. You're tired. You've done enough. That doesn't matter today. But discipline trains you to talk back. I'm tired, but I'll still do it. It's uncomfortable, but I'm not quitting. It matters because it's shaping who I am. That's how you rewire your identity. You stop negotiating with your excuses and start building evidence of your strength. Every disciplined action is a vote for your future identity. You're teaching yourself that you can be trusted, that your word means something. And that's powerful because success doesn't start with achieving. It starts with believing yourself when you say, "I will." There's another truth about discipline it compounds. What starts as effort becomes instinct. What starts as forced eventually becomes natural. The first time you resist temptation, it's difficult. The 10th time, it's easier. The 100th time, it's automatic. That's how discipline turns into freedom. The paradox is that the more disciplined you are, the freer you become, because discipline liberates you from chaos, from indecision, from guilt. It gives you control over your time, your energy, and your results. People think discipline is restriction, but it's actually empowerment. It's choosing what you want most over what you want now. It's trading momentary comfort for lasting pride. Your future self doesn't want you to be perfect. They just want you to be faithful. They want you to do the small things that compound into big results. They want you to remember that progress isn't measured in leaps, but in steps. Every workout you complete, every page you read, every hour you focus, they all stack up. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the little things weren't little at all. They were everything. Discipline doesn't show results immediately because it's planting seeds in a garden called later. But when the harvest comes, it comes in abundance. Discipline also demands patience. We live in a world that rewards speed, but growth rewards endurance. It's easy to quit when you don't see instant results, but your future self knows that time is part of the process. They know that every disciplined day adds another layer of strength. They know that transformation happens slowly, then suddenly. The key is to keep going when it feels like nothing's changing, because that's when everything's forming. The roots always grow before the fruit shows. So every morning, remind yourself, your future self is watching. They're depending on you to show up. They're counting on you to make choices that build momentum, not excuses that steal it. They're waiting for you to do the things that seem small now, but will matter immensely later. Because every act of discipline today is an act of kindness to your future self. You're saving them from regret, from limitation, from the pain of wasted potential. You're gifting them strength, freedom, and peace. And though they can't speak to you, their message is clear. Thank you for not giving up on us. There's a mirror that connects who you are right now to who you're becoming, and that mirror never lies. Every thought, every decision, every habit you practice today becomes a reflection cast forward into your future. The person you will become is nothing more than the reflection of the person you are right now, multiplied by time. That's why the mirror between today and tomorrow is so powerful. It doesn't show you what you wish for. It shows you what you work for. You can't fake your way through this mirror. You can't trick it with words or hide behind appearances. You can post confidence online. You can pretend to have direction. You can even convince others that you're making progress. But your future self sees the truth. The mirror between today and tomorrow records everything. It remembers the hours you spent growing, the lessons you embraced, the moments you wasted, and the excuses you repeated. Nothing escapes its reflection. If you look into that mirror today, what would you see? Would it reflect someone taking responsibility for their life or someone avoiding it? Would it show a person building their future or postponing it? Because every day, the reflection becomes clearer. You can't hide laziness with ambition. You can't cover inconsistency with motivation. You can't disguise fear with confidence. The mirror doesn't respond to how loudly you speak about your goals. It responds to how quietly you act on them. The truth is, your future self already knows the truth you try to avoid. They know when you're serious and when you're just saying you are. They know when you're working or when you're drifting. The reflection never blurs. Only our honesty does. The problem is, most people don't like the mirror. They look into it and turn away because it shows them the gap between who they are and who they could be. And instead of facing that truth, they distract themselves. They convince themselves that tomorrow will be different, that next week they'll start, that someday they'll commit. But the mirror doesn't care about promises, it reflects performance. You can't lie to it. The version of you that you want to become is watching you through that mirror, and they're silently waiting for you to live up to your potential. They're hoping you'll stop running from the reflection and start shaping it. Because that's the secret. The mirror doesn't just reflect, it responds. Every time you take a step toward growth, the reflection shifts. Every time you choose discipline, honesty, or integrity, the image becomes stronger, clearer, more aligned with who you want to be. Think of the mirror as a window into time. If you want to see confidence later, build courage now. If you want to see financial freedom later, build responsibility now. If you want to see peace later, build integrity now. You can't plant seeds of laziness and expect a harvest of strength. You can't feed your mind with fear and expect a life of courage. You can't fill your days with distractions and expect a future of clarity. Life gives back what you put in, always. The mirror between today and tomorrow magnifies the truth of your habits. Small laziness becomes big regret. Small growth becomes massive transformation. Every little thing you do reflects forward into something larger. The mirror also tests your consistency. One day of hard work doesn't change much, just as one day of failure doesn't ruin you. What matters is what you do repeatedly. If you look into that mirror every night and see inconsistency, know that it's not judging you. It's inviting you to align your actions with your intentions. Because the mirror doesn't care about perfection, it cares about patterns. It's not about what you do once, it's about what you do again and again. That's how the reflection becomes solid. That's how the image of your future self begins to form. Not from big decisions made occasionally, but from small choices made continually. What many people don't realize is that the mirror can become your greatest teacher. It reveals lessons you'd rather not face. When you see that you're not becoming who you said you would, you have two choices. You can break the mirror or you can change the reflection. Breaking the mirror means making excuses, blaming circumstances, pretending life's unfair, saying things like, "I'll never be like them." But changing the reflection means you accept the responsibility. You realize the mirror doesn't show the world's reflection, it shows yours. You start adjusting your habits, your mindset, your reactions. You stop arguing with life and start improving yourself. That's when the reflection starts smiling back. The mirror is also brutally fair. It reflects what you nurture. If you feed yourself negativity, it will reflect it. If you surround yourself with people who waste time, it will reflect that too. If you choose growth, reading, learning, discipline, it will reflect that as well. It's not biased. It just reveals what's there. So if your reflection isn't what you want it to be, it's not the mirror's fault. It's your signal to upgrade what you're giving it. And when you do, something amazing happens. The mirror begins to show a version of you you've always wanted to see. Someone who's in control, confident, calm under pressure, fulfilled. That image isn't magic. It's built from hundreds of quiet, unseen efforts that compound over time. The reflection also reveals your hidden beliefs. If you believe deep down that you're not enough, you'll act like it. You'll sabotage progress, avoid challenges, and settle for less. The mirror will show that timid reflection, a version of you that plays small. But if you start believing that you can grow, that you can learn, that you can change, the mirror will start reflecting that belief. You'll begin to carry yourself differently. You'll start walking with purpose. You'll act like someone who expects progress instead of waiting for permission. The reflection always follows belief. What you see in your life is simply a projection of what you've been believing about yourself all along. Sometimes the mirror shows you something uncomfortable, your own potential. And that can be the scariest reflection of all, because potential demands responsibility. When you realize you could be more, you also realize that not being more is a choice. The mirror exposes that truth. It reminds you that you were capable all along, that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is built on daily discipline and courage, not luck or talent. Most people avoid that reflection because it makes them confront their excuses. But those who face it head-on, those who dare to look closely, are the ones who change everything. The mirror also teaches humility. When you're doing well, it reminds you that success today doesn't guarantee success tomorrow. The reflection only stays strong if you keep feeding it with effort. When you neglect the fundamentals, the reflection fades. When you take your growth for granted, the mirror grows foggy. But when you stay grateful, when you keep learning, when you stay consistent, the mirror rewards you with clarity. That's the beauty of it. The more honest you are with it, the more generous it becomes. And here's the most powerful part. The mirror not only shows who you are, it influences who you'll attract. People who take care of their reflection, who live with integrity, discipline, and growth, naturally attract others who do the same. Your reflection becomes your signal to the world. The energy you project becomes the people you meet, the opportunities you receive, the life you live. If you want better, you must reflect better. If you want stronger, you must build stronger. Because the mirror of your future doesn't wait for luck, it waits for alignment. Every morning, you stand before that invisible mirror. You can't see it with your eyes, but you feel it in your choices. You know when you've honored your word or broken it. You know when you've lived up to your standards or lowered them. The mirror records everything quietly, patiently, waiting for the day when the reflection becomes real life. And one day, you'll wake up and realize the reflection has arrived. The future you imagined has become the present you're living. The question is, will you love what you see? Every choice you make is like writing a letter to your future self. Every decision, every habit, every attitude, they're all messages sealed in time, waiting to be opened later. Most people don't realize that the future is simply a collection of letters written by their present actions. Some people send messages filled with wisdom, discipline, and growth, while others send letters full of excuses, neglect, and regret. The pen is always in your hand, and every day you decide what kind of story you're writing. Whether you realize it or not, you're constantly communicating with the person you're becoming. When you skip discipline today, it's your future self who has to deal with the consequences. When you choose courage, learning, and effort, it's your future self who gets to live the rewards. Life is a delayed conversation with yourself, and the tone of that conversation is decided by your daily behavior. When you make a good decision, it's not just a momentary win, it's an investment. It's like writing a letter that says, "I cared about you enough to make this choice." And when you make a bad decision, it's not just a temporary mistake. It's a debt your future self will have to pay. You can't escape your own letters. They always find their way back. Some come back in the form of opportunity, success, freedom, and peace. Others come back as regret, limitation, or burden. The question is, what kind of mail are you sending forward? Because one day those letters will arrive, and you'll have to live inside the story you wrote. Think about how this works in the smallest things. When you study instead of procrastinate, you're writing a letter that says, "I'm building your confidence." When you save money instead of wasting it, you're writing, "I'm protecting your stability." When you exercise instead of giving into comfort, you're writing, "I'm strengthening your energy." And when you choose to stay consistent, even when it's hard, you're writing, "I'm making your life easier." But when you take shortcuts, when you quit early, when you settle for less, you're writing letters that say, "I didn't believe you were worth the effort." The tragedy is that so many people keep sending themselves the same message. "I'll deal with it later." But later always comes. The future is nothing more than today arriving with interest. Every day is a blank page, and every action is ink. You can't erase what you write, but you can change what you'll write next. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to keep sending the same story. You can start a new chapter today. You can decide that from this moment forward. Your letters will speak of courage, effort, patience, and integrity. You can't rewrite the past, but you can outgrow it. You can't change the letters that have already been sent, but you can send new ones that make up for the old. The future you deserve is built by the choices you're willing to make now, not the ones you keep postponing. Every letter has a tone. Some are written with hope, others with fear. Some are filled with gratitude, others with complaint. When you live with gratitude, you write letters filled with peace. When you live with resentment, you write letters filled with chaos. When you live with purpose, you write letters that breathe life into your future. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. You can make mistakes, stumble, and still write a good letter if your intent is honest and your effort is consistent. The future doesn't demand that you never fail, it asks that you never stop writing. Because when you stop trying, the story stops growing. The problem is most people forget that every small choice adds up. They think it's just one day, one meal, one decision. But small choices are like sentences. Each one builds the story. Eat poorly for a day, no big deal. But eat poorly for a year, and you've written a chapter called Fatigue and Frustration. Skip learning today, no problem. But skip learning for months, and you've written stagnation and missed opportunities. The future doesn't punish you suddenly. It simply mirrors what you've written over time. It's a reflection of consistency, good or bad. That's why your daily habits matter so much. They're not isolated events. They're the ink that shapes your life. When you really understand this, your mindset shifts. You stop treating today like a throwaway. You stop saying, "It doesn't matter," because you realize it all matters. The smallest effort counts. Every good choice adds strength to your story. Every time you resist a bad habit, you're protecting the future pages of your life from regret. Every moment of self, Discipline is a sentence of victory written in advance. You begin to live with awareness, knowing that the smallest decision can echo through decades. And that's when life starts to change. Not because something magical happens, but because you start writing with purpose. And here's what's powerful. You don't need to write perfectly. You just need to write truthfully. You need to keep showing up, even when the words feel messy, even when the progress feels slow. You need to trust that the future self reading those letters will understand, that they'll see the struggle, the effort, the courage it took to keep going. They won't care that you stumbled. They'll care that you didn't quit. The best letters aren't flawless. They're honest. They say, I didn't have all the answers, but I kept showing up. And that's the kind of message that builds pride instead of regret. Sometimes life gives you the chance to open a letter early, a result of an old decision. And in that moment, you see clearly how the past has shaped you. The lessons you ignored, the effort you gave, the times you chose growth. They all return as the life you now live. That's when it hits you. You're not a victim of circumstance. You're the author of it. What you're living now is just an old letter coming back with your name on it. The only way to change the story ahead is to change what you write today. You don't get a new future by wishing for one. You earn it by sending better letters, one choice at a time. When you understand that every action is communication with your future, discipline becomes sacred. You no longer see it as something you have to do. You see it as a gift you give yourself. You wake up early not because someone told you to, but because your future self deserves that advantage. You choose to work on your dreams not because it's easy, but because you don't want to send another letter of regret. You eat better, read more, think deeper, act wiser, because you know that someone you deeply care about will read every word. And that someone is you. Life is always sending the mail back. You'll receive the strength you've built, the knowledge you've gained, the peace you've nurtured, or you'll receive the consequences you ignored. The delivery is guaranteed, only the content changes. Every habit is a paragraph. Every season is a chapter. Every year is a volume. And when your future self opens those pages, you'll either smile with gratitude or ache with F only. The difference between those two emotions lies in the pen you hold today. So every morning, remind yourself that you are writing your autobiography in real time. Every action, no matter how small, is another sentence in the story of your life. Live like you're sending love letters to the future, letters that say, I believed in us enough to do the hard things. Because one day, when you arrive at that future, you'll read every one of them, and you'll know whether you were the kind of person who left yourself a gift or a warning.